Alright folks, welcome. Today we're going to quickly draw a skull. So, for a skull, I'm going to do big old circle like that, using pen again. So we start with a circle, and then we're going to draw like a square here for the jaw. And I'm actually going to round the bottom because we know that the jaw is not like a square. But the basic shape of like the mouth, the front, the nose, you can establish just with this square. Then I can actually go in, draw a little triangle for the nose. And using this square, I could start the jaw here. But I think I want to start the jaw something like around here. And kind of like do the L shape. We got the top jaw coming down, so draw this line there, that way I can kind of see where I want my teeth to be. And I don't want teeth to be kind of all like checkers or piano keys, so I can kind of draw them irregular. Now I'm not doing these anatomically accurately, but just kind of just creating a variation between the shape of these teeth so we can see something's going on. You can see our skull already taking shape. And alright, I think that's good enough for right now. So I have my jaw right here, and I see I clipped that corner right there just to give it that roundness of the feature, so it looks like the front of the jaw will be somewhere around here. Alright, now I'm going to kind of just play with this line a little bit, and this little guy right here. Really don't know how that looks. I'm not using a reference picture to see how that kind of connects to the jaw in real life. Again, this is kind of just a fictional skull that we're kind of just drawing, something fun. You can see that's already taking shape. All right, let's give it some eyes, and I'm not really sure what I want the eyes to look. Maybe I'm just gonna make this kind of just more designerly, so I'm gonna do that little slant so it looks less scary. You know, maybe it's like a skull in deep thought. Now here's a little tricky. I'm gonna go forward for like where the top of the eye is, and then bring it down over here. And I'm gonna make his cheekbone pop out a little bit over here, just to kind of give this eye like somewhere to sit. Really, you probably couldn't see it at this angle. It'd be tucked away more, but for this, I just kind of want to have more surface area of the eye to show. And so we got that guy, and so I am going to give this guy some pupils. Why not? Again, we're not doing anything that's supposed to be accurate. And you know what? I am going to give him some cartoony eyes. I'm going to give these eyes a little bit of shading to show that they have some volume. And I'm going to color in the pupil. And maybe a little circle there to show that there's like light reflecting there. And then I'm going to go ahead and start shading this guy in. And a little drop shadow underneath this eyeball right there. And with this nose, I'm going to give him some shading right here to show that there's a slope there. It goes up to this hole right here that represents our nose. And since I'm coloring that in dark, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing right here. That way it looks like an absence. Color him in, and you can see our skull guy is already taking shape. So let's go ahead and do this jaw. So with this jaw, I'm gonna go inside and then come back out and then dip down a little further, give it a nice shape there. I'm gonna go ahead and define this outer line a little bit more. And the cool thing about pen is because you can't erase these lines, you gotta live with those lines, so it kind of makes it more expressive. It gives it a cool stylized look that I enjoy. Gonna do a little shadow here, like under the eyes, like that. And then I'm gonna draw some extra lines to blend that in. A little cross hatching. And I'm going to do a little bit more shadow over here, so this nose kind of just pops out a little bit more. Alright, and then I'm going to give these teeth a little bit more detail. Pow, pow, everything's starting to pop, everything's coming together really well. I like the shape of this skull. This came out pretty cool. And same thing with the bottom teeth, just giving them a little bit more definition. And I'll just do a little bit of squiggles here and there just to show that the teeth have a little bit of texture to them. And it's kind of funny, I got that line, it looks like braces. Maybe I should give them braces. So now we're going to do the back of the skull, and I'm going to go ahead and just start shading it because it's a round ball for the back of the head. And we just want to give it some volume and some dimension. So I am going to leave just this little part here lighter. And I'm just going to keep working these lines in. Alright. I think we could go a little bit darker. So I'm just holding the pen like at a 45-degree angle and just letting it scrape on the page. That's why it's not making these really dark lines. I'm just kind of just rubbing it and piling these lines on top of each other just to get a darker value. And now I'm going to bring it to the forefront of the forehead. That way it blends in. And going in. So there we have our skull. I'm wondering if I should do anything more, if I should just call that a wrap. You know what, I'm going to call it, that's it for this guy. I think the one last thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to add a little drop shadow because I'm always bugging for drop shadows. I want this thing, I don't want it floating in midair. I want it to have a surface where it could rest. So started with some hatching, now I'm going with some cross hatching to darken the shadow closest to the object itself, which is our skull. And I'm going to go underneath. Like this area I would like to have darker. And you can see our skull is now sitting on like a table of sorts. So our skeleton dude seems to have lost his body. Maybe that's why he's looking a little worried. He's like, oh no, I don't know where I left my body last, but I'm sure he'll find it. It's like misplacing your keys. If you just calm down and think about the last place you put them, you'll figure it out. And we'll go a little bit darker here again, one more time. And darker here as well. And folks, there you have it. Pretty cool skull dude. And I could always keep going, but we're gonna leave it at that. Anyhow, let me see how your skulls come out. I hope this was helpful. Tune in next time and we'll draw something else that should be fun. They're always fun. Just nice random drawings. Alright folks, be good.